Very warm welcome to all of you. As part of your optional orientation series, after we did the general orientation yesterday, you have had two optionals which we have touched upon. One is anthropology and another one is Kannada literature. Okay. So now we'll be doing orientation of public administration. Right. After that, you will have sociology and PSIR. Agriculture is not happening today. Sir is not keeping well. So after public administration, you will have your break. 2:30, we'll have sociology. Sir arrives early. I'll let you know so that you can all start. Okay. Right. So I'm here as your public administration faculty. So my name is Prashanth. Right. I handle public administration as an optional. Now, from last year, the big news or the big benefit is till then I was alone handling public administration completely. From last year, we have retired IAS officer and one of the very famous tutor, Rao sir, also who will be handling public administration. Okay, so if you have heard of Rao's IAS, which was a very famous IAS coaching institute in Bangalore, this was in Malleshwaram. Raghavendra Rao sir, right? He had, for many emergency reasons, he had to close his institute. So since then, he's been associated with us. He's been helping us with multiple critical subjects. He has had more than 25-30 years experience in as serving in these services. He's been IAS officer, and after that, he's running his academy. Now he's been with us, so he's teaching. One of his optional forte has been public administration. So paper 2 part of public administration, Rao sir will be handling. Paper 1 part, I'll be handling. Okay. So that's how we have divided, given he has his interest in paper 2 and has built a larger idea there. That's how we take. So here we are to understand about the optional, right? The plus, minus, and the entire aspects related to that. Now, first I'll tell you about the optional, the syllabus, the entire idea and related, how it has been performing, what is it. We can also take questions related to that. At the end, I'll also address some questions which, right, some of you would have heard already, or some of you will definitely hear in terms of how much time I've been able to give and what are the issues that we have been faced. That also I'll openly address. Okay, there's nothing to hide about that. Okay. Now, when it comes to optionals, right, historically, last 25-30 years, one optional which has been very famous, which have been one of the most chosen optional when it comes to UPSC civil service exam has been public administration. Okay, public administration has a unique advantage given that one, from the syllabus point of view, right? When you look at the syllabus point of view, right, it is simple, it is easy to understand, right? Easy to correlate. More effectively, syllabus is also less compared to other options that you take. Okay. That does not make it easy for everybody, because the challenges that anyone faces with respect to optional, specific to the idea of answer writing remains a challenge like any other option. Many times the common statement or the common idea that we get to hear is, sir, I understood everything, I was very happy listening to it, but how will I put it as an answer? That challenge is there. That challenge everybody faces. Okay? With that challenge is faced with every optional. Now, this being the primary benefit, that the syllabus is simple and it is something that you can very much relate to. Now, this part becomes very important because public administration, though we study theories and thinkers and every aspect, I'll show you the syllabus and through that I'll try to make you understand. This is not philosophy. This is not something which is out of the world. This is something that we encounter on a daily basis. This is something that you will see on a daily basis every day around. Most of our examples that we will use are examples of, right, situations that we face on an everyday basis. Government, right, organizations as such. Now, effectively, how do you link ant nodidre? Now, what is the idea? One, it is administration. Now, if you simply take the word administration, administration is a neutral word, correct? What does it mean? Administration means to administer, right? To administer is to take care of, to manage. And then you add the word public administration, which means the idea of government comes in, correct? So, we are looking at government organizations and through which how they are functioning. So, primarily subject shuru madadaga, we try to take from organization's perspective and try to understand the organization perspective and from there link across. Very nicely built syllabus, very effectively built across. Now, public administration across India, there are only 2 or 3 universities which offer public administration as a full-time degree. One in Osmania University of Hyderabad, one in Delhi, Jamia Millia, right? And there's one other university. So, only 2 or 3 universities across India offer IGNOU, right? IGNOU again is an open university. So, full-time degree and offer ಮಾಡೋದು 2 university, Osmania and Jamia Millia. ಸೊ ಆ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೆ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ನ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಚೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನ್ ಆಗಿ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡೋದೇ ತುಂಬಾ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದ್ದ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇದನ್ನ UPSC ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಆಪ್ಷನಲ್ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಟ್ ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂದ ತಗೊಂತಾರೆ, ಕಲಿತಾರೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ದೇ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ಸಿವಿಲ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸಸ್. ಅದರ್ವೈಸ್ ದಿ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ ಐಡಿಯಾ ಆಫ್ ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ, ಜಾಗ್ರಫಿ, ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ಸ್, ಪಾಲಿಟಿ or political science is all there, right? Which is your standard degrees because all these subjects have their part in your graduation as such. But this is such a critical idea as such because whatever we study is very critical for now to understand as a theory, and then once you get into services to practice that. Because what all of you will be doing once you get into civil service is administration only, right? So, theoretical understanding, practical application and taking the overall framework from that perspective makes it very critical. That's the benefit that public administration has, okay? Because you will be able to correlate ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತ ನಡೀತಾ ಇರೋ ವಿಷಯಗಳಿಂದ ಇದನ್ನ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕಾಗ್ಲಿ ಇದನ್ನ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಈಸಿ ಆಗೋ ಕಾರಣದಿಂದ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಕೂಡ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ. ಇನ್ ದ ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ ಹೌ ಡು ಯು ಮೇಕ್ ಯುವರ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟಿವ್? ಒನ್, ರೈಟ್, ಯು ಶುಡ್ ಅಡ್ರೆಸ್ ದಿ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ದಿ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್. ಟೂ, ಯು ಶುಡ್ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟಾನ್ಶಿಯೇಟ್. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ನ ಕನ್ವಿನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನ ಜಸ್ಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟಾನ್ಶಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಥ್ರೂ ಸಮ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್. ಆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ ಹುಡುಕೋದು ನಿಮಗೆ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗಲ್ಲ, ರೈಟ್? ನೀವು ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ವಿಷಯಗಳನ್ನ ತಗೊಂಡು ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬ್ರಿಂಗ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್. ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರ್ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಇಸ್ ಅನ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಫಾರ್ ಮಲ್ಟಿಪಲ್ ಸಚ್ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಓರಿಯೆಂಟೆಡ್ ಐಡಿಯಾ, ರೈಟ್? ನೌ ಹೌ ಡು ವಿ ಬಿಲ್ಡ್ ದಟ್ ಥಾಟ್ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಥ್ರೂ ದಿ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ವೆನ್ ಎವರ್ ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಲರ್ನಿಂಗ್, ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ನಾಟ್ ಪ್ಯೂರ್ಲಿ ಲರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಥಿಯರಿ. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಐಡಿಯಾ ಜೊತೆಗೂ ಕೂಡ ವಿಲ್ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದೇರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಟೇಕ್ ಇಟ್ ಹೋಮ್. ದಟ್ ವೇ ವಿಲ್ ವರ್ಕ್, okay? That's the larger thought process that we'll be taking along when we pitch the idea of administration. Okay, so this is something that we take further along when we take a larger process because it helps us build a larger thought. Okay, clear? Right. So that's the understanding that you will be able to get it clarity. Since it is easy when you see the terms, many of them took. So there was a time period where almost till 2014 orgu ಹೇಗಿದೆ, ಟಿಲ್ 2014 ಹೇಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರತಿ ವರ್ಷ ಒಂದು 12,000 to 15,000 ಜನ ಮೈನ್ಸ್ ಬರೀತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಆಫ್ ವಿಚ್ 10,000 to 11,000 ಪೀಪಲ್ ವುಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಆಪ್ಷನ್. ಈ ಮಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಆಪ್ಷನಲ್ ವಾಸ್ ಚೋಸನ್. ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್, ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಯಾವುದು, ದಟ್ಸ್ ಹೌ ದಿ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ ವಾಸ್. ಸೊ ವೆನ್ ಎವ್ರಿಬಡಿ ವೇರ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಟು ಬಿಲ್ಡ್ ಅ ಲಾರ್ಜರ್ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಏನಾಯ್ತು 2014 ಆಚೆಗೆ ಒಂದು 3 ವರ್ಷ. ನಾವು ಇಫ್ ಯು ಲುಕ್ ಎಟ್ 2015, 2016 ಪೇಪರ್, ಆಲ್ಸೋ 14, 15, 16 ಪೇಪರ್, these 3 years ಪೇಪರ್ಸ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ, ಪ್ರೀವಿಯಸ್ ಇಯರ್ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಪೇಪರ್ಸ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ, ಎಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ಪೇಪರ್ 1, ನೀವು ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ಸ್ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಲ್ಲ, ಅವ್ರು ಏನ್ ಕೇಳಕ್ ಟ್ರೈ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದಾರೆ ಅಂತಾನೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. That happened for those 3 years. So all of a sudden there was a fear. Oh, ಇದು ನಮ್ಮ ಕೈಲಿ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. Then people started looking around. So that's when anthropology, political science and all others made inroads, and now there is a larger democratization that everybody is taking every option. That's how much. ಆ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ರೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಬಂತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಡೆಲ್ಲಿ ಸರ್ಕಲ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ದಟ್ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸೀಕ್ರೆಟ್ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ಅಂತಿದೆ, ಆ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಓಪನ್ ಆಗಿ ರಿವೀಲ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ಇಂದಾನೆ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು 10 ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಅನ್ನು ಜೋಡಿಸ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಅದನ್ನ ಸೀಕ್ರೆಟ್ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ಅಂತೆಲ್ಲಾನು ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಡಕ್ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಆಗ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ಸ್ ಅದರಿಂದನೂ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ ಫ್ರೇಮ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಬಿಡುವಂತ ರೀತಿಯೆಲ್ಲ ಆಯ್ತು. ರೈಟ್. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ಈಗ ಥಿಂಕರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೋದಾಗ ಕಾಲ್ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಅ ಥಿಂಕರ್ ದಟ್ ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ, ಬಟ್ ದೇರ್ ವರ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಟು ಕಾಲ್ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್, ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಟು ಅಂಬೇಡ್ಕರ್. ವಿ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್, ಬಟ್ ಕಾಲ್ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ವಿ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಅಂಬೇಡ್ಕರ್, ಬಟ್ ಅಂಬೇಡ್ಕರ್ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಓ, ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಸಪ್ರೇಟು, ಇದು ಹೊಸದು ಅನ್ನೋ ರೀತಿ, ವಿಚ್ ವಾಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಟ್ರೂ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ the application orientation in the way they have asked question is very much linked to the syllabus, but they have linked the new thinker. That's all that they have done. Right. So that's the line in which you have to see. Okay. So I can tell you with guarantee or assurity, being an optional teacher myself, or much more than an optional teacher, I would want to call myself a student of public administration, because 2011 when I chose my optional, from then till now, I have been in thorough love with the subject to such extent that at some point I want to do my PhD or do further ahead in this subject. That's how much I've been working in this subject. All my 6 attempts were in public administration. When I chose my 2 options were public administration and sociology. Yavaga 2 option in the 1 option in the change madadru, I retained public administration and left sociology. Right. Now, has it been a very smooth journey that I've always scored very well? Right. Not really. Right. There was once when, I remember that very distinctly, because I felt I have done my paper 1 very well and paper 2 decently. So paper 1 indane nange aa varsha interview call barutte anta ankonide. Right. Aa varsha paper 1 score for me was 36 marks. Paper 2 was 140. Right. So this, I have seen this low also. Now when I got this much, I was not able to understand why. So I approached my mentors, Ravindran sir, Vajiram founder Ravindran sir. I spoke to him. He said, what is your essay marks? That year I had scored very well in essay marks. I had 148. So he said, if your writing skill was bad, your essay marks should have gone low. If your public administration knowledge itself is not good, then your second paper also should have reflected that. No, ಇವೆರಡೂ ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಬಂದು ಇದು ಈ ಮಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ then something beyond your control has happened. ಸೊ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತಲೆಗೆಡಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಡಿ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಯೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಮಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅದ್ ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಡಿ. ಸಮ್ ಟೈಮ್ಸ್ 136 ಆಗಿರೋದು 36 ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಸಮ್ ಟೈಮ್ಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಷನ್ ಎರರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಅಥವಾ ಇವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಯಾವುದೋ ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸೀನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಲಾಸ್. I have also touched where I have got 145 and 139 also. So I have touched this high also. Okay, so there has been scenarios where, so in that sense, public administration is definitely a scoring subject. In the last 10 years, we have had at least 2 rank 1s who have been public administration officer, and in the top 10, we have always had at least 1 public administration officer student. If you want to see recently, Manoj GS, who is the IPS officer, his option is public administration itself. Last year also he scored very well. Right, just that by a meager margin he had missed out. This year he has scored 280 close by in his public administration. And I am the last person to say that I did, but Manoj was in no real touch. He was a lot of self-study person, and he did a lot of work through himself. Interview time al ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ touch ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ವಿ, ಅದ್ ಬಿಟ್ರೆ optional he did completely thoroughly. He did with a lot of support by himself as such. But Apurva Basur is one name I would love to take, because she is an IAS officer today. She is in Maharashtra cadre. Apurva Basur is from Karnataka. She comes from Kopla, Hospete inda bartare. And when we got in touch with respect to public administration, she was a little in struggling mode, and she wanted to go to Delhi. And she went. Within a day she came. Within about a week she came back, because at that time pollution troubles were very high and it was causing a lot of issues. We worked for 3 months together, right? Day in and day out, we worked for 3 months together. She scored 290 and she got IAS, right? So we have seen that result also in terms of working. So in that benefit, what all I would want all of you to understand is public administration is an optional that you can choose without any second thought. Okay. Public administration is an option which you can choose without any second thought, or ಯಾವುದೇ ಭಯ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಡೌಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ you can choose public administration option. Number 1, ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇರಬೇಕು, ರೈಟ್? ಈ ವಿಷಯಗಳನ್ನ ಕಲಿಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ನನಗೆ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. So first thing what we'll do is syllabus run through ಮಾಡೋಣ. Right, as I said yesterday, every detailing discuss ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಫಸ್ಟ್ 2 ದಿವಸ ನಾನು ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ, ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ನ ಇನ್ನಷ್ಟು ಡೀಟೇಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ ಆಗಿ ಒಂದೊಂದ್ರಲ್ಲೂ ಏನೇನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಏನೇನ್ ಕಲಿತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ತಿಳಿಸ್ತೀನಿ ನಿಮಗೆ. ಬಟ್ ಓವರ್ ದಿ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ 30 minutes ಗಿವನ್ ದಟ್ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರೋ ಕಾರಣ ಇವತ್ತು ರೈಟ್ ಐ ಸ್ಪೆಂಡ್ ಅ ಲಿಟಲ್ ಮೋರ್ ಟೈಮ್ ವೇರ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಐಡಿಯಾ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಇಂದ ಹಿಡಿದು ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ವರ್ಗು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನೆಲ್ಲ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಯಾವ ತರ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಐಡಿಯಾ ನಾನು ತಿಳಿಸ್ತೀನಿ ನಿಮಗೆ. So that you will get an idea, okay, this is what I'm going to study, by which you will be able to judge, okay, idan nanage interest barata, idan nan kaliyake interest toristina anno reethiyalli you can take a picture. Right, so let's do a syllabus understanding. After that we'll see what are the positives, negatives associated, what challenges you can face. Okay, so what do I have of public administration specific? We have seen this idea. Right, now specific to the idea of these questions that we want to touch upon. Why public administration, if that is the question? Why public administration? One, pre to your exam, after your exam, right? Any point of time in your life, you cannot do away with public administration. Even if you are running an organization, you have to do administration. Even if you are running a state, you are running a district, you have to do administration. So having good knowledge about things and understanding it from different perspectives will definitely help. Public administration gives you that very good strength. Right, and syllabus is very much updated to an extent that every time you read these ideas, you will be able to understand, okay, idan nan illi link madbodalva, idan illi link madbodalva anno reethiyalli mind effective work agutade. So it is that easy to relate. The moment ನೀವು ಕಲಿಯೋದನ್ನ ನೀವು ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತ ನಡೀತಾ ಇರೋ ವಿಷಯಗಳಿಗೆ ರಿಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು ಅಂದಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಆಟೋಮ್ಯಾಟಿಕ್ಲಿ ಅದು ನಿಮಗೆ ಇನ್ನಷ್ಟು ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇನ್ನಷ್ಟು ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. That's how you have to see through. Okay, so that's the idea. Now second question in terms of role of option in means, right? Now one, how much role play we have understood in terms, because minimum scores 250 touch ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದು ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಪೇಪರ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದೀನಿ. ಪೇಪರ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ above average answers ಬರ್ತಿದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ 250 you can touch. But we have also seen scores being around 230 240 ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಸ್ಟ್ರಗಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋ ಸ್ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ನೋಡಿದೀವಿ. Last 1 or 2 years in the using a lot of AI based support, right? AI based support, getting in thinkers orientation has become easier. ಮುಂಚೆ ನಾನು ಒಂದು ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಬರಿತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ಐಡಿಯಾ ಬರಿತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂದಾಗ ಹೇಗೆ ನಾನು ಕೋರಿಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು thinkers ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ it was difficult, right? So ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬಾ theoretical knowledge specific ಆಗಬೇಕಾಯಿತು, ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ತುಂಬಾ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಾಯಿತು. So role of optional, when we look at mains process in terms, your understanding of public administration as a subject will improve your understanding in multiple aspects, right? That specifically when I deal here, I'll tell you. Scoring wise, in understanding, in application, and also in terms of scores, it has helped, right? But nothing comes easily. Just that I take public administration, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಓದು ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಹಂಗೆ ಬರ್ದಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂದಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಲ್ಲ. ಅದು ಯಾವ ಆಪ್ಷನ್ಗೂ ಬರಲ್ಲ, ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಅಂತೂ ಹಾಗೇನಿಲ್ಲ, right? You have to put your effort. You have to be pretty serious in terms of what you're learning. Theoretical understanding strong ಆಗಬೇಕು, right? ಆ theoretical understanding strong ಆದಾಗ ನೀವು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಓದ್ತಾ ಇರುವಾಗ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಇರೋ ಥಿಂಕರ್ಸ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀರಾ, ರೈಟ್? 9th ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಬರೋಷ್ಟೊಳಗಡೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಕಲ್ತಿರ್ತೀರಾ. 9th ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ನೀವು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಇರೋ ಥಿಂಕರ್ಸ್ ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡೋ ತರ ಎಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಬೆಳೆಸ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಥ್ರೂ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ, ರೈಟ್? ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ನಾವು ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ನೋಡಿ ಇದನ್ನ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಕಲ್ತಿದ್ವಲ್ವಾ, ಅದನ್ನ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಬರೀಬೋದಲ್ವಾ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲಿತಾ ಇರುವಾಗ ಅದನ್ನ ನೋಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಷ್ಟು ಆಟೋಮ್ಯಾಟಿಕಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆನ್ಸರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಇದು ಅದು ಇಂಟರ್ಲಿಂಕ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. That way you will be able to build. Okay, so that's the specificity you will have to take forward when it comes through the thought process. So in that way, overall idea comes into perspectives, improvises your thought. Next, what should be the choice based upon in terms, can I build interest, right? Because it is easily relatable and because it is something that you see around you, right? How does traffic management happens? How does transport management happens? How does financial management happens? ಇದೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನೂ ಕೂಡ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತ ನಡೀತಾ ಇರೋ ವಿಷಯಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಈಸಿಲಿ ವಾಚ್ ಔಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಔಟ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಬೇಸಿಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡೋದೇನು ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಓಕೆ, ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಈಸಿಲಿ ಬಿ ಜನರೇಟೆಡ್. sources available idya, definite sources available idya, because it has been one of the most chosen optional. Continuous agi public administration mele repeated books bartane ide, and there are updations also. Everybody who is qualifying as officer, they have shown interest to write books on public administration, by which many books have come about. So enough sources are available. One benefit is when KPSC had optionals, ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ತುಂಬಾ ಜನ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಚೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ರಿಂದ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಕನ್ನಡ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಇವೆ, ಕನ್ನಡ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಓದೋದಕ್ಕೆ. KPSC ಯಾವಾಗ ತಮ್ಮ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ನ ರಿಓರಿಯಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಆಪ್ಷನಲ್ ನ ತೆಗೆದ್ರು, ಆಪ್ಷನಲ್ ತೆಗೆದಾಗ ತಮ್ಮ GS ಪೇಪರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಕೆಲವು ಟಾಪಿಕ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಕ್ಲೂಸಿವ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಇದೆ. 80-85 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ GS ಪೇಪರ್ 2 ಅಲ್ಲಿ they have included an exclusive part of public administration where almost this entire syllabus they have crumbled into one part of 85. That way, public administration, again, enough sources are available. Yes, definitely challenge comes in terms of answer writing ability, because you will have to build your thought process there, right? How effectively you will be able to build that thought process, which needs effort. Okay. So what we'll do is, first on the almost on 2 weeks classes, we will not touch upon answer writing. We will largely get into getting the idea of the syllabus. Amele every day one question minimum anno ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ question ತಗೊಂಡು you will be able to push yourself towards writing. ಹೇಗೆ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಹೇಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನು ನೀವು ಚಾಲೆಂಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ will be able to push. Okay, that way we will be able to take things. This is the critical part: interrelation and correlation of the optional with general studies. Now, when we see public administration on one side, right? On the other side, GS paper 1, GS paper 2, GS paper 3 and GS paper 4, right? Or if I also want to say essay. Public administration gives enough fodder material for almost all of them, especially for, right, especially for GS paper 2, GS paper 4 and essay direct support ಇದೆ. Because ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲಿಯುವಂತಹ ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜ್, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲಿಯುವಂತಹ ವೈಡ್ ವೆರೈಟಿನ ನೀವು ಎಸ್ಸೆ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಳಸಬಹುದು ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು, ರೈಟ್? ಎಥಿಕ್ಸ್ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಬಾರಿ ಅವ್ರು ಕೇಳಿರೋ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಥಿಂಕರ್ಸ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡೇ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ವೆಬರ್ ಅಂತ ಒಬ್ಬ ಥಿಂಕರ್ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ, ಈಸ್ ಅ ವೆರಿ ಫೇಮಸ್ ಥಿಂಕರ್, ರೈಟ್? ಸೋಷಿಯಾಲಜಿಯಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ವೆಬರ್ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ. ವೆಬರ್ ಇಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಫೇಮಸ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಡೀ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ ಗೆ ಬ್ಯೂರೋಕ್ರಸಿ ಅನ್ನೋ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ನ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು ವೆಬರ್. ಜನರಲ್ ಸ್ಟಡೀಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲೂ ವೆಬರ್ ಟಚ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. But in GS paper for ethics paper, they once asked a quote of Weber, also putting the name Weber, right? Kautilya. So Kautilya's Arthashastra, India's origin to administration from Kautilya's Arthashastra and public administration paper 2 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲಿತೀವಿ. First chapter ಅದನ್ನೇ, evolution of Indian administration. That idea of Kautilya was asked in, right, ethics. So as a public administration student, to address such questions in ethics, to get enough fodder material to essay becomes very easy. And since public administration is the study of administration, where you will be studying everything related to bureaucracy, specifically paper 2. Paper 2, you will study evolution of Indian administration, Indian state, which in terms of central government, union government, state government, panchayati raj, rural development, urban development, idellavannೂ ಕಲಿಯೋದ್ರಿಂದ, right? Paper 2 becomes, except IR part ಒಂದು ಬಿಟ್ಟು, paper 2 becomes very direct, very interesting. So essay, GS paper 4, right, gets you a lot of content, but paper 2 it is almost direct support, except the international relations part, right? For polity, constitution and governance. Hagidre difference ಏನು? What is the difference between GS paper 2 of polity, governance, welfare to public administration ನೋಡೋದಾದ್ರೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅದೇ ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜ್ ನ ಥಿಯರಿಟಿಕಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಥಿಂಕರ್ಸ್ ಪರ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಇಂದ ಅನಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಬರೀತೀವಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಜನರಲ್ ಸ್ಟಡೀಸ್ ಪರ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಇಂದ ಬರೀತೀವಿ, ರೈಟ್? ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್ ದಿ ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಮಚ್ ಡೀಪರ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಒಬ್ಬ ಗ್ರಾಜುಯೇಟ್ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ನಾವು ಬರೀತಾ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಐ ಆಮ್ ಅ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಗ್ರಾಜುಯೇಟ್ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಪರ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಡೆಪ್ತ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯು ಆರ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್. ಹಿಯರ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ರೈಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಅ ಜನರಲ್ ಸ್ಟಡೀಸ್ ಪರ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ದಟ್ ಎನಿಬಡಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್. Apart from that, right, I will not hesitate to tell you that, right, even for GS paper 1 and GS paper 3, there is an indirect support. Like GS paper 1 has post-independence history as part of history. and it has society. So society understanding of women, post independence understanding, ee erduku kuda GS paper 1 ge provide the support sigate. Okay, GS paper 3 alli nimma society the security portions ಇದೆ, internal security portions ಇದೆ, right, in terms of how Naxalism is dealt with, in terms of how, right, border agencies and different forces are dealt with, police and police reforms are dealt with, ಆ aspects kuda nimge provide in the direct support sigate. Because public administration paper 2 alli law and order administration antane one separate topic, right, where we study about all this. So in that way there is indirect support. So I will not brag telling nodi provide ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾ GS papers ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ essay GS2 and GS4 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. GS1 and GS3 ಎರಡು ಕಡೆ, ರೈಟ್, ಇಂಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ, ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಆ ಮಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ there is a lot of interrelation and correlation with respect to your general studies. With respect to general studies, that's the correlation that you have. Okay. Now, last one in terms of need for coaching, as I said, since it is a simpler optional, since it is something where the syllabus is direct and easy to understand, many times self-study for public administration looks like it will work. Okay, ತಪ್ಪೇನಿಲ್ಲ, ಓದಬಹುದು, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಸೋರ್ಸಸ್ ತುಂಬಾ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂಡ್ ತುಂಬಾ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಆಗಿರುವಂತಹ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಆ ಸೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳೋದು ಈಸಿ. ಓನ್ಲಿ ಚಾಲೆಂಜ್ ಕಮ್ಸ್ ವೇರ್ ನಾನು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರೋದನ್ನ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಓರಿಯಂಟೇಷನ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಬರೆಯೋದು, how do I apply what I have studied from exam perspective? That is the idea that comes, right? That's the benefit of coaching as